going on, everybody? This is the ChondroCast, the podcast for green tree pythons and the people that keep them. I'm your host, Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics. Enjoy the show. Let's see. What else is new?
Man, just working a lot, and spending money on snakes. I got that designer from Bill Stiegel.
Yep.
And I'm paying on her. I haven't picked her up yet, but I'm paying on her. And so I've got that one coming probably here in the next 2 months. And then I've got the Wamina that will be here hopefully next week.
Nice.
So the collection is growing. That'll put me at 11.
Oh, damn.
Oh, man, they are some addicting animals.
They are. Like I said on another episode. I don't know if it was on this or if it was on Herpetoculture podcast, but there are times where I really contemplate selling off everything that's not a chondro and just going all in on them.
Well, I go by Carpet Cartel because I was heavy into the carpets. I had a bunch of carpets, and I had picked up a couple of green trees and moved them out and stuff, and sold them for other carpets and things like that. And it's just I missed them so bad. They've always been my favorite python. It's I just missed them. There's nothing like watching that color change, and how many times I've changed water or changed the bedding and walked out of here and left the cage open, for hours and go do something and then come home and they're still sitting on a perch. You can't do that with other snakes. Leave your cage open. See how fast your snake comes out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the green trees are just whatever. If they even turn around and notice the door's open.
Even if they had the option, they probably wouldn't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah. They just sit there. And so it's great. And, I've done that quite a bit. And I was out the other day with my wife, and I think we were at Walmart or something, and we'd been out running errands, and we'd been gone for 3 hours. So I was like, crap. And she's like, what? I was like, I left the cage open to one of the snakes. And she's like, is he going to get out? I was like, I doubt it. Probably not. Came home and it hadn't even moved, man.
If that were any colubrid, it'd be gone. You'd never
Oh,
find
yeah,
it.
definitely. We have a king snake and a corn snake, and, it's like, oh, you're in the room? Let me start moving. Pushing all up on the doors and stuff. They're hilarious. They are some hilarious animals.
Yeah, I don't know. I love my other little side projects and species fetishes to sell them all off just to go all in on chondros. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I've thought about it, and I've been called a restless keeper, to where I've had ball pythons, I've had other stuff, and I was going to do all these projects, and then I get tired of them. I get bored of them, and the one thing I've never gotten bored of is my chondros, and I just the color changing, just them in general.
It's funny, them as sedentary as they are, they should not be as addicting as they are.
Exactly.
Because they're really not that exciting. I thought ball pythons were lazy. I started keeping chondros. These things don't do anything.
That's what I was fixing to say. They're just like ball pythons. They're just on a stick, except they look better doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real thing.
They're much easier on the eyes.
Doing nothing.
Maybe that's why Bill does both. Maybe he's got it figured out.
He's got the balls. He's got the carpets. I think he still has some odd ends. I think he's got some rhinos, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Some rhino rat snakes, and and then the chondros, of course.
Yeah, I want to get my hands on some of those too.
He's messing with that dude. That's why the addiction came back into play. Was messing with Bill and being over at his house, and it started up again. I get over there and you're looking at all his snakes, and it's just man, these animals are so beautiful, and and it.
Let's see. All right. Well, we've been recording for the last 5 minutes already, but
Oh, cool.
There's already some cooling. I like to kind of just, I don't know. I don't like to do the rocket ship countdown because then everyone's like, it's not very natural, you know. But anyways, welcome everybody. This is episode 6 of the ChondroCast. I'm Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics. Tis a fine Saturday afternoon here in South Carolina. Everything's covered in pollen, where everyone else is covered in snow. So I'll take the pollen and allergies over that. But today I'm joined by Mr. Evan Browder.
Yes, sir.
What's
How's
up?
it going? Pretty excited to be doing another show, man. This is especially talking chondros.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
I've been on From the Ground Up.
Yeah, you were on there
the
a few
Port
times.
City Pythons podcast. Yeah, I did that quite a few times.
Because they were local to you,
GTP
right?
Keeper. Do what?
They were local to you, right? Like when they lived in Texas.
Yeah,
they
they at one point they lived literally like 5 minutes from my house.
Mm.
I mean, between 5 and 10 minutes. And so they had a couple guests at times. You know, I was actually called to be a guest, and then there was times where they would have a guest lined up, and for whatever reason it didn't happen, and they would call me and be like,
Yeah,
hey,
you were like the fill-in guy.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Say, sure.
Designated hitter.
For a couple hours.
Yeah, so you did that, and then you were on, I know you were on GTP Keeper Radio. You were on that at least once, right? Or did you do that multiple times too?
That was, I was so nervous.
I don't blame you, man. I would have been too.
I think it's because my first time talking to Chondro. Like, everything else is just, you know what I'm saying? It's like that relaxed animal talk about everything. You know, I keep dart frogs, and I've got chondros, and we've got dogs, and I've got tarantulas. Like, you just talk about anything. And that was such a specific, you know what I mean? We're talking about chondros, and I was so nervous because the people I'm talking to have been doing this for years, whereas, you know, for decades, and I've just been doing this for a couple of years, and it was, my stomach was hurting a little bit. I was nervous. My wife was laughing at me.
I was
She's
sweaty.
Like, relax, man. She's like, you talk to Bill all the time. I was like, I know, but still, this is different.
Yeah. It wasn't just you though. There was someone else with you, right? It was Buddy, Bill, you,
Jason Stevens.
Okay.
They had Jason Stevens. He's the veteran keeper.
Yep.
I was the novice keeper, and then, you know, Bill and Buddy.
Yeah. Well, I'm supposed to have Bill on later this month. I've been talking to him off and on, and I don't know. I want to do more. Like I've been trying to get Mark on more regularly, but his schedule's a little more hectic, so it's kind of hard to like have Mark come on as like a co-host.
He's another one. He lives about 5 minutes another direction from me. It's funny. Like, we're all like kind of right here. You know, Bill's in Arlington, which is about 30 minutes from me. I'm in basically Dallas.
Okay.
And you know, he's about 30 minutes from me. And there's a lot. I'm learning there's a lot of local chondro people. They started the Texas Chondro Keepers group, and it was just like, wow, there's a lot of chondro people in Texas.
Isn't it strange that it's sort of like cut up into factions now? Like, you have Colorado guys, you have Maryland guys, and you have your Texas guys.
It does seem like
so
that.
strange.
Florida, there's quite a few folks in Florida.
Yeah, that too.
And it's just, but it's I love it, man. I like being able to have local people, especially people like Bill, who's, you know, breeding these animals.
Yeah.
Or Matt Morris, he's in Austin. It's like, hey, man, I've got some questions, you know, and
like,
at
they're
one point,
right there. You know, they're accessible.
Right. And even people I've met off of you know, like Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Ian Bissell, you know, I had tried to breed chondros. I think it was about 4 years ago, on a pair I had. And, I mean, I was blowing them up. And I had talked to Ian because I've seen him producing some stuff, and that's how I got to know Ian. And I'm just question after question after question. I'm like, man, these guys are going to get tired of me. You know, I'm just asking them everything. And they helped so much. And it was just, like, invaluable information and just helping me. And just, man, it was great. And then you build friendship, you know, behind that. And then Ian came in for Southern Carpet Fest. And it was just a wonderful time, man, getting to actually meet him face to face. And then he could come in and look at the snakes I was asking questions about and stuff like that. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice to finally get to meet Ian in person at Southeast Carpet Fest, because I also talked to him on a pretty regular basis. It's kind of funny. I feel like everybody has their handful of like chondro guys they talk to, like their little clique in a sense. Like, I talk to Ian a lot. I talk to Justin Wilbanks a lot. I talk to Brian Fisher a lot. Harlan, obviously. But like everyone has like
you mean Harlan? You mean Harlan talks to you?
That too, yep.
Harlan is so awesome, man. Like I actually,
I love Harlan.
I talked to him on Facebook, and he's like, "Well, give me a call, man." I was like, "Okay, cool." Nobody really told me, what to expect.
Yeah,
with
no
Harlan.
one gave
And
you
so
a
I was
warning.
like, all right, dude. I called him, and I literally think I asked maybe like 2 sentences, 2 questions, and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half, and it was all Harlan. But I was soaking it up like a sponge.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was great. And it was so funny because he just took off. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like
completely
all the
unsolicited.
questions I had to ask him, he was already answering without me asking the questions. It was great.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's been a huge help just in the breeding department, because I finally got a clutch on the ground, first clutch ever. Should be having eggs pipping in a month. Should be like April 9th or so.
That's so awesome, man. And as long as I've been working with snakes, I've only gotten 1 clutch of snakes ever. And it was like some mutt carpet pythons. They weren't like a spectacular pairing or nothing, but, I bred snakes, and I was so happy. And that's all I've done. Like, I almost did it with the green trees, but they were infertile. And then she had some egg bounding issues and had to go to the vet. And it was just like, man, like I almost did it. Like I did everything else right. They just it didn't go.
Right there, like that second to last step. And
so, that's when I kind of changed things around, kind of moved the carpets out. Everything's been green tree since then. Like, it's been so green tree that I've seriously contemplated changing my name from Carpet Cartel to
I know you
Cartel.
mentioned that in the From the Ground Up chat. Everyone was giving you shit about it.
Yeah, and they were like, "Man, you should be Chondro Cartel," and I'm just like, but at some point, I want to go back. I love my jungle, and I would like to get back to carpet.
I've thought about doing the same thing with my name, like changing my name to Palmetto Coast Chondros, but I'll never just have chondros. Like I'm too ADHD for that. Like my attention spans too many different things, so I'm keeping it as.
And I mean, that's where my focus is right now. You know what I mean? Like my main focus right now is nothing but chondros. But I really want to work with Alterna. I love the gray banded king snake.
You need to hit up my dad then, because my dad has about 4 pairs he's about to put together once they come out of formation. He's got a big group.
And then of course, Stu Tennyson is like one of the gray band guys, and he's in I think Arlington, right there by Bill. He's like 30 minutes away. It's just like, those are some awesome snakes. And it's like, okay, go by Chondro Cartel. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm trying to breed king snakes. Like, king snake cartel? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nah. So I think I'll just leave it Carpet Cartel and roll with it. I put a lot of time into that name.
So when did you get your first chondro?
Oh, that's a funny story. I murdered him. Let's see, was it 2000? I would say 2006, 2005, 2006. This was my first time. I'd worked at a pet store, and they got some in. And at the time, I'd always seen them in books, always loved them, but I didn't know anything about them. I thought they had to be, I knew the humidity was pretty high, and so, I had the red heat bulb and all the stuff they tell you now not to do. And I had them in this big, almost like a display cage. And I had 3, I know now they were Beox, but I had 3 animals, and they were all yearlings. And I had them all in the same cage. But it's a big cage. It's like a 4x7. Like, he was huge.
Oh, damn.
And the bottom, I had like a big log thing that went all the way up and had branches and everything. And in the bottom, I had turtles, like water and turtles. Like, I think I had like some soft shell turtles and a snapping turtle. Had them all in there together, and I thought, this is like the ultimate thing. This looks awesome. It's like natural kind of. And everything was great for a while, but the turtles are nasty.
Oh yeah.
Had no problems with the animals themselves. It's just turtles
are
nasty,
the worst, man.
Smell.
Turtles are horrible.
I've got to do water changes.
Yep.
So
there's no filter on Earth that can keep up with any species.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I pulled the turtles out and decided to put, like, I don't know, some kind of bedding, probably Refi bark or something in there. Well, I didn't realize how much I changed that entire atmosphere, that whole setup when I did that. I think with the water in there, it really helped it. And here I am thinking, I'll get rid of all these turtles. They're nasty. Give them a water bowl. Oh, dude, it did take no time. Like, I pretty much, almost like a fish tank, like I crashed it. And one by one, they would ground themselves. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm trying to spray them. And, I don't know nothing at that time. Facebook wasn't like it is now, to where you just had these groups and the Chondro groups to where you could go to. I don't even think there was a Facebook. I think it was like MySpace and kingsnake.com and stuff like that. So I was just stuck out, and then one by one they dropped. And I was just like, okay, crap. And so I got scared of them. Then I was like, okay, they're too delicate. I'll never have these again. And then, I think it was about 2013 when I met Bill and went to his house and saw his stuff, and I wanted him again. And then it was a whole different experience, because now Facebook is out there.
Yep.
And you get information from people that have been doing this forever, writing books about this stuff at just typing, you know what I mean? And so it changed the game, and it's like any questions I had, I'm asking Bill, I'm asking other people. I was lucky enough to actually message and talk to Rico once, and, it was just all this information started coming in, and so I just started soaking it up, and okay, got to change this, got to do this. This is what they're doing. This is why their animals are doing so well. Got to change these cages, get them out of aquariums. You know what I mean? Put them in or whatnot. And it's Bill's fault. It's all Bill's fault. So that's where I sit now. I've got 2 that are coming, and that will make 11.
It takes nothing. I went from 1 to 4 or 5 in a surprising amount of time.
They're so, like, my wife, she already knows. I'm like, let's go to the reptile show. She just look at me like, you're not getting nothing. And I'm like, I don't ever really get anything from the reptile shows anyway. It's the people I talk to and kind of network with.
I don't really anymore.
And I think now it's like, she's not so worried that I'm going to find something at the show. It's who I'm going to bump into at the show.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Now he's going to find somebody else to buy a snake from. So, yeah, she's something else, man. She's a great woman, dude. She's supported this and has been in my corner, and like I said, it just got me the Wamina from Ryan Burke at Clockwork Reptile for my birthday, which is the end of this month, and I'm just like thrilled right now.
Yeah, so, man, Wamina are cool. That's one of those localities. Like, if you throw it into something, it throws some really interesting babies.
I'm telling you. And then my whole plan, I've got a couple designers. Both of them are actually from Bill. One of them is from that repeat pairing that produced the sickness.
Mm-hmm. That's the one that you haven't had come in yet.
Yeah,
right?
The little yellow one.
No, you bought an older one.
The older one. She is from the Blue Cyclops and the Son of B. I think it was a Jim's male.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one I saw. He was at NARBC, and I saw her. My wife was like, "Ooh, I like her," and it just kind of happened. So
that counts as permission if you ask me.
Man, I'm telling you, you got to stay away from certain people. And she told Bill, she's like, "You're his drug dealer." She's like,
pretty much.
I'm gonna set up like a credit account that we put money into.
Yeah.
So whenever you breed a clutch, he's got money in his account.
Just sign a contract that says, for the next 60 years, I'll send you $50 a check, and then you just give me.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
it's crazy, man, and I just love sitting in here and looking at them, and that's it. And I'm one of those. I don't really handle them.
I don't either.
A lot of people, some people handle theirs. I just choose not to handle mine. If I want to handle them, I actually just reach in, pull the perch out, kind of look at them, make sure everything's okay. Now, if I see, an issue with them, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's hands-on. But other than that, I don't touch them.
Yep.
And you see a lot of these groups, it's like, how do I tame my snake down? Well, you leave it alone. If you want something you can handle constantly, go get a king snake, a ball python, a corn snake, something like that. These are more like a fish tank, man. Set them up, feed them, water them, change them, leave them alone. And I feel like it's less stress and they do better.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I kept inverts for a really long time. Like, there was a point where I was keeping hardly any herps, and I had nothing but scorpions and tarantulas for a couple years. And it's kind of funny, like that time with those sort of taught me to be hands off with stuff, like to be able to keep it and enjoy it without having to handle it. And so now, like, I have the Chondros, and Jake always gives me a hard time. He's like, well, at least I can touch mine. I'm like, I can touch mine, I just don't want to. Like, if you keep that stuff and you get in the habit of just appreciating it without having to get your hands on it, you know, it's fine. I mean, I don't really have time to handle much of my stuff anyways, just given my work schedule and everything, but I'm okay with it. Like, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, and I just, like you said, I've got tarantulas and I'm looking at. I've got an adult female Armenia that I'm looking at right now, and that's a Venezuelan sun tiger.
Yeah, I had one of those. Those
you know, I've seen people handle them, and it's just, for what? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why even risk that bite?
People handling H-Max and any ornamentals or any haplopelma or anything like that. It
exactly.
completely makes my butthole pucker up when I see it, because it's just like, I ain't, you ain't catching me doing that.
Right. More power to you. I think it's cool to watch you do it. You know what I mean? Like the free handling of venomous snakes. Yep. I honestly don't really have an issue with that. If you know what you're doing, cool. More power to you. I'm just not going to do it. You know, what you do is what you do. What I do is what I do. I'm going to watch you from a distance. I'd rather use a hook. You know?
Yep.
I like my fingers all being on my hand, you know, or actually having a hand and a life. Because some of those will take body parts or take your life. And I'd rather not do that.
Yep. And you know what's funny? The people that get bit are the ones who are then like, oh, yeah, don't free handle anymore. It's really not worth it. And it's like you have to get bit to learn that. Like even Jake, who I do THP with, he got bit by a Western Diamondback a couple years ago. And when he sees people free handle, he's like, dude, they have no idea the amount of pain they're going to be in. He's like, it is indescribably painful.
That's crazy. And I never, you never know till you get bit. And I've heard people say, oh, it hurts. Or, I vomited a lot. I was really sick. And I'm just like, okay, that doesn't sound that bad. And then I actually watched y'all's show. I think y'all were on From the Ground Up.
Oh, yeah.
And y'all were talking about that. And he's just like, you might as well just grab a hammer and smash your finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
while it's on fire. Yep.
While it's on fire.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing. Nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't even like getting bit by our king snake. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only like 3.5 feet long. I don't like getting bit by that thing. You know? I'm good on that.
Yeah. And it's something we see in the chondro groups regularly, is people who get them and they're like, when can I handle it? You know, they have like a baby Biak they just got from Petco, and they're like, how should I handle it? How do I go about taking it out and picking it up? And then when everyone's like, you don't, they're like, well, what do you mean?
Petco,
yeah.
The whole Petco PetSmart scenario, that is just
I don't know. I mean, what's your general opinion of imports? Like, because to me, I think it's okay to buy that kind of stuff. You just have to know what you're getting into before you do it. Like, know that you're going to have an uphill battle. Like, I have no issues with buying that stuff. I don't think Petco should sell them.
Exactly.
But if I saw one on sale, I wouldn't not buy it.
Yeah, I have no problem with imports. Like, almost every one of mine is an import. And the Wamina coming in is an import. Like, they're imports. And I have no issues with them. One, I found a great vet. You take them to the vet, get fecals ran. Just do what you're supposed to do. And they're pretty bulletproof. They're not that hard to take care of. Yeah. And I think the problem comes from these people who just want the cool green tree python and don't do any kind of research. It's just like, buy this snake on a whim, and then, oh, hey, Petco actually has one for $150, or they'll give it to me for like $60 because nobody's gonna buy it because it keeps biting everybody.
Yeah.
But it's on the ground. It's just like, spend the money, man. Like, I can't preach that enough. Spend the money. Go get you quality. Even if you get imports, spend the money with the quality guys. Harley Wall, Ryan Burt. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys deal with captive bred animals and imports, but they take care of them. It's not, you're not going to get this import that just came in a Coke bottle 2 days ago, and now they're already putting it in a box to send to you. You know what I mean? These snakes have been in their possession for months, and they take care of them. And, these are guys you can trust. And I don't, I would never buy a chondro. You probably couldn't give me a chondro from Petco. I say that.
Yeah,
because
people
if you were
don't
like,
realize
"Here,
that
just
it's
take it,"
just
I'd probably be like, sure.
it's a complete uphill battle. Like, if you have experience with chondros and you've treated them before yourself, or you have a good vet, then that's one thing. But when people just buy them and then they're, all of a sudden it's not eating and they have it with like a freaking ceramic heat emitter and like it's just shriveling up like a spider in the corner of your house, like, it's
Yeah, and
if
and
you
it's
know
tough
what you're
because
doing,
there's
it's
a lot
cool.
of those people. Yeah, a lot of those people, they come in the groups and they'll ask for advice like, what do I do? And your first thing is, well, number one, don't buy them from Petco. And I think a lot of our messages get lost on Facebook, whatever, because it's typing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
then we
there's
come
no
across
context.
as assholes. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not, I wasn't trying to be an ass. I was just trying to say, don't buy from there because you get what you pay for. Those guys, go to Petco right now, any Petco, and look at the way their reptiles are set up. Most of them are very incorrectly.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, they're trying to sell you a green tree. Like, man, this is what you're going to get, and that animal's going to be, probably dead not too far from now, not too long from now.
Yeah, and I have a lot of people who message me on Instagram or whatever, and they're they ask about who they should go buy from, and I tell them, the names you listed. I also throw out Ian and Justin Wilbanks and whoever else I know off the top of my head that has babies at that current moment, and I tell them, like, if you go the cheaper route and you buy like this, the imports from any of the importers that sell them for, $300 or whatever a piece, like, with the amount of money that you quote unquote saved by buying that, you're going to spend that much in vet bills and proper caging. Yep. So in the end, like, why wouldn't you just skip all that and just buy a headache-free animal to begin with?
Definitely, and that's another thing I've said, And I see a lot of these guys are like, well, man, I can't justify spending $1,000 on a snake, and I'm like,
you're going to be spending
you know
that,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, easily.
And that's the funny thing is you're going to be spending that pretty much regardless, because once it's an adult, say you do get an imported adult, you're going to have to get it treated, and to me, PVC cages are like the way to go for adults. Like, they do best in those. Like, there's no other. You can keep them naturalistic if you want to, but personally, I like PVC cages because I think the heat and humidity they retain is perfect. You're going to end up spending that much anyways, so what's the big deal? Like, if you want a captive bred green tree, just go find someone who has captive bred Beox that are, not designer and not stupid expensive, but at least a little cheaper than what you're wanting, and drop the other $400 on a cage. Boom.
Yeah, and then it's just worth it because then you don't worry about your animal as much as an import. You should still, even if you get it from, like, no matter who it is who breeds chondros, and they've been doing this forever, it's one of those things you should still probably just get them tested, especially with things like Nido floating around. There's always been this big push against imports, and I'm like, well, most imports aren't carrying Nido. You're seeing a lot of that come from captive bred animals, and I was like, so people that are dogging imports, I'm like, yeah, you can go get captive bred, but your chances now you got to do Nido testing, whereas the imports don't. They may carry it. I don't know where it came from actually. So, but the biggest issue I've ever run into with imports is parasites. So I don't know. It's 50-50 to me whether you get a captive bred or an import. You might still run into some problems, but that's where us as keepers should take our animals to the vet regardless. Yeah. Quarantine and vets should be your best friend.
Well, if you buy
eliminates a lot of problems.
If you buy captive bred, the odds are more in your favor of success. That's what I tell people. Like, if you buy an import, it's an uphill battle. Yeah, if you're buying imports, then you're rolling the dice. And I mean, you can roll those dice if you want to.
Don't take these people. There's a lot of people that just want your money. Like, if you go to a show and they're telling you, "Oh, these are captive bred animals,"
yep.
Ask for proof. Ask for pictures of the parents. Ask for the mom on eggs. Because what I've noticed is all these breeders take a crap load of pictures of their animals having and laying the eggs and breeding and everything. Like, I could get everything from Bill right now. I need pictures. I've got pictures of the fire of the dam. I need pictures of the mom ovulating. I need pictures of them breeding. I need pictures of her, laying eggs. He's probably got that. And he can give me everything I need, whereas I've seen other people, oh, it's captive bred. Well, who captive bred it? Well, we don't know. Well, then how do you know it's captive
it was
bred?
sold to us as captive bred. And it's like,
Yeah,
Bullshit.
well, it was captive bred in Indonesia. Well, that's still an import because it was imported here. You know, so I don't know. Whatever. I love them. I don't have issues with imports or captive bred. I think take them all to the vet. that's my input. Take them all to the vet.
Yeah. So
I even feel like sometimes I haven't done it. I should probably get in the habit of doing that, to do a yearly checkup just because. Don't wait for something to be wrong. I think all of us have a habit of doing that. Oh, something it's doing this all of a sudden, it's out of the ordinary, take it to the vet. Maybe we should just start taking them to the vet just because every year, just to do a checkup.
Yeah, I mean, we do yearly physicals.
Yeah, well,
not?
some of us.
Yeah, some of us. We get physicals done. Whether it's on a regular basis or not, they get done, even if there's nothing wrong with us.
For sure.
Colonoscopies, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, because the funny thing with most reptiles, in my opinion, is stuff that is wrong. Like, if you have an RI that has just shown up out of nowhere, like, those don't just kind of show up overnight. Like, that's a symptom of a bigger problem. So if you're taking your animal to the vet, on a yearly or bi-yearly basis, just to stay up on it, you might be able to catch, a bigger issue down the line.
And especially when you're talking about snakes, they're not, a dog can get sick and you see it almost immediately. People get sick, you see it almost immediately. Snakes hide it very well until it's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, you may not even know. Like, I see a lot of people talk about upper respiratory, and they're like, oh, my snake has now got his mouth open, he's breathing funny. Well, he's probably doing a lot before that, but you really have to listen for it. All that little clicking and wheezing and stuff, you really have to be listening for that. And, like I said, I feel like if you set an appointment, yearly or so, like you said, bi-yearly, and just get them checked out just to make sure there's no issues. Hey, my snake's healthy. You'll have a happy snake.
And I think it's pretty well documented now that older chondros are pretty susceptible to cancers of some sort. So if you're getting this stuff checked out, you have a better chance of probably catching that earlier. Whether or not catching it earlier would make a difference on the outcome of that, I guess, is kind of dependent on the snake, but just simple stuff like that. But I'm
wondering if that stems from basically their feed, just like with people. I think a lot of cancers that people get, look at their eating habits, the way they're eating and things like that, their diet. So I'm imagining that if these snakes are getting older and they're getting cancers, it might have something to do with the feed, with where are you getting your feeder animals from? What are those animals eating? And
that's exactly what my suspicion is with that too. But I have a lot of people message me on Instagram too, and they ask about respiratory infections in their chondros, and I tell them, like, respiratory infections are rarely just a respiratory infection. Like, it's almost always a symptom of a bigger problem. Because, the immune system gets compromised, and those bacteria, in the respiratory tract or whatever you want to say, are like the first ones to kind of take hold, and that's when you get RIs showing up. So I tell people a lot of the time when they talk to me about that and ask about it, like, go to a vet, because a respiratory infection is almost always just a side effect of something else. And I've seen it.
That should be everybody's number one recommendation. When you see these people post in the groups, they're like, my snake is doing this, is doing that, what should I do? My answer is always go to the vet. Even if you're not 100% sure something's wrong, go to the vet. And you see a lot of people tell them, you can make like a home nebulizer and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you spend a lot of money. Some of these snakes are worth $100. Some of them are worth thousands of dollars. I'm not fixing to risk a snake I just dropped $2,500 on with a homemade nebulizer. I'm making a vet appointment ASAP. Like,
I do it all the time. I have a nebulizer,
and I've done that once, and I just I still ended up losing the animals, and so I was just like, no, I'll just the vet. And finding a vet it's a little difficult. But that's one of those questions that you ask the groups, and there's like I've seen this vet list that they put up.
Yeah,
somewhere.
It's ARAV.
Maybe MVS.
It was like not having a reptile vet near you, or not knowing of a reptile vet near you was, a plausible excuse, 20 years ago. But now you have ARAV, which is totally like a complete nationwide, if not worldwide, veterinary directory for reptile and exotic vets.
And it's great because, once again, Bill came into play, and I was like, where do you go to, your vet? And he recommended a vet in Mansfield, which is, it's probably about 45 minutes to an hour from me. But the doctor who actually, the veterinarian who looks at the animals and everything, he actually owns Green Trees. And
that
so
makes
it's
it even easier.
Even better.
Yep.
And so it's like he actually knows how they work, how they operate. He handles this, so he knows about them, and it's like, oh, this is wonderful. So, highly recommend vets.
Yeah, I'm lucky. My roommate is a vet, so anytime I have questions, I literally just walk into the other room while he's playing Xbox and be like, "Hey, what's the dosage on this?
What's up with this?"
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, there's 3 milliliters, whatever, to 0.6 milliliters of this, da 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 da," and then, okay, cool, thanks.
That's awesome.
But I mean, I understand. Like, I'm in a fortunate position, to where my roommate, he doesn't see a lot of reptiles, but he does have experience with exotics and stuff, so he knows enough to make things work. He's not like some vets that are kind of like, well, I treated a ball python once, but this should work, I guess, and there are such a thing as unreliable vets, or vets that are not good at their job.
Dude, I've seen people post, "Hey, my vet said this," and we're all like, "No, that's not even correct." Like, what? And that's scary when the vet is giving you wrong information. And I mean, people are just like, "Oh, I'm gonna take my snake to the vet," and they think what works for, one snake will work for all snakes, and it's not. That's not exactly correct. And I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff come through that a vet told people, and it's like, wow, like, no, that's not right. And they of course want to argue, well, you're not a vet. Okay, bro.
Yeah,
do
whatever.
what you do. I'm just trying to tell you. 10 of us told you the same thing. So, but hey, do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
More power to you. But yeah, man, they're like I said, they're fun though. When they're healthy and everything, they're great.
Yeah.
And can't ever stop learning. It's like every day I learn something new. If I'm not asking somebody questions, I'm getting books. My last book, I got that Justin Dreulander and Terry Phillip book,
mm-hmm.
and just been reading that.
What do you
and
think
I think
about that?
I think it's great. It's more updated information. I still have Maxwell's book, the more complete Chondro, and I love that book. But that was then, and there's more information now that helps. But both those books still help today. You know what I'm saying?
Because I was surprised.
A lot of people were like, well,
yeah, I was surprised there were so many people that were kind of like, they waved off the Dreulander Phillip book. They were kind of like, this doesn't matter. This doesn't mean anything.
I think it all matters.
Grace. I mean, yeah, and I have people ask me all the time, should I get that one or should I get Maxwell's book? And I tell them get both, because you can't have one without the other. Like, in conjunction with one another, you're covered. Like, there should be nothing else you need to know.
I'll tell you, if you see a book and it mentions the word green tree pythons in it, and you want green tree pythons in it, if green tree pythons in your collection, get the book. Hell, I've got Birdie. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's about a green tree python. I read that to my kid, and it's a children's book. But
yeah, I need to pick that one up. I need to buy that one for mine.
Yeah,
I was looking at it on Amazon.
That's where we got ours from. It's a good book, And I think that's a lot of people's actual introduction, especially as kids, into green trees.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the first book you actually see, and then you start getting older, you read more animal, legit animal books, and you start seeing all these pictures of snakes and stuff, and then you see something that really catches your eye, and that's what you're kind of stuck on as a kid until you get older. And it was always green trees. I love those colors, seeing them in the natural jungles and stuff with all the leaves and things like. Because I love the Dallas World Aquarium, because it's like a big jungle. You go in there, there's plants everywhere, and I'm all into plants and stuff, and I love it. And green trees, I say that, and I'm looking at my green trees right now, and their tanks are like pretty bare. It's like perches, a water bowl, and a couple of fake plants. I think bioactive setups are awesome, but I also see the problems when you're really trying to pay attention to an animal that you get.
Mm-hmm.
I think bios are great for older animals, established older animals that have had zero issues, kind of thing. Babies, I don't think should go in bios. Try to keep it simple.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because it's pretty.
You can really.
A lot of people are torn on that too. I agree that like babies and anything that's up to a sub-adult size, like keep it simple. When they get bigger, move them, and if you want to get fancy and move them into something like that, go ahead. But I think to start, especially with neonates, like keep them in the dark and keep it simple.
Yeah, and you can see everything. If they use the bathroom and maybe you can actually see a parasite, or there might be a worm in there or something, you can see that. Whereas if you've got a bio setup, it's dropping in plants or behind the plants, and if you've done your bio setup correctly, you've got bugs in there that are eating this stuff, so you will never see it and know your animal is sick. So I don't know. I mean, I think bio setups are beautiful, and I'd like to have a big bio display, because I build bios for dart frogs, and I think it would be fun to do one for like a pet green tree one time. But right now, everybody's in PVC cages, just kind of chilling out, doing their thing.
I don't know. I just hate how like strict everyone gets about that whole debate. Like, if you're not keeping it either way, like if you're not picking a side, then you're the enemy. Like, it's just irritating that people are like, you don't keep natural, then you might as well be a dog fighter because it's just animal abuse.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think it's whatever works for you. Like I said, I've told it before. If you want to tell me how to keep my animals, you come over here and you pay my rent, you feed my kids, you wash my dishes, you
pay
know
for
what I'm saying?
everything,
you
and
take
I'll do
care
it.
of my household. Then I'll listen to you. Till then, I'm gonna do what I do, and you do what you do.
Well, the thing is like we'll never know. We'll never know if the snake's happy in a tub or not. Like, we'll never know if the snake's happy in a natural setup or not. Like, until someone figures out the way to, like, insert themselves into their brain, like it's the Matrix or something, we'll never know.
Yep. And then you always get that argument from somebody who's like, well, it's so unnatural to just have them in boxes. And I'm like...
Then we shouldn't be keeping them at all.
Any kind of setup we keep them in, it's unnatural. So what's the difference?
The fact that we have them in Texas and South Carolina and Colorado and Maryland at all is not... Yeah, so that whole sort of argument gets sort of disassembled.
It's all just, who cares? Like, man, just
do what you do. Yeah.
Try to keep your animals healthy.
Yeah. So you've got the couple of designers, and then you have, aside from the Wamena, what other imports do you have? I've really, my focus with my green trees, I love the blue stuff. Like, the designer blue animals are just, they're fascinating. They're beautiful. They're just, to me, they're the top notch of green trees. Like, they're the best thing. And so I've got the designer stuff to try to do that later on, and I want to do that. But another main focus of mine is locality pairings, because there's not enough people producing locality animals. I mean, you got guys that are making some beautiful animals where they're crossing, Cyclops to Biak or Maniquari to Aru, whatever they're producing. They're making beautiful animals. But where's the U.S. captive-born Arus? Where's the USCB Maniquaris? Where are the Waminas? Last year? I seen one clutch of Waminas. One. Where's the Wamina pairings? Where's all the Fox and the Arfax and all these different localities? Where are they at? I think we need to not just do the designer crosses. People need to do more of the locality-specific pairings. So that's what I'm working on. I've got a pair of Aru. I've got 2 males and a female Biak. I've got a female Maniquari that I'm looking for a male for. I've got the 2 designers from Bill. I now have the Wamina coming. I have 2 that I actually picked up at an NARBC show. Bottom is Cyclops Mountain, and they are obviously not. I've talked to Patrick Holmes. I've talked to Harlan, and we kind of believe they're either Maniquari or Maniquari outcross. But this is what you run into with imports. There's no information for them. So there's no telling what they are. They're just chondros. And I had them sold, and that deal went to hell and was all crazy. And so I was like really going to try to resell them, get rid of them, because they don't fit into anything that I was really trying to do. Then I picked up that sickness sibling from Bill and was like, you know what? One's a male, one's a female.
whatever this animal turns into, I could maybe use those for the designer project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think I'm going to do with those two.
Cool.
But everything else, it's like I want to do locality to locality. Everybody's like, hey, do you think you're ever going to do, Aru to Biak? And I'm like, why? Everybody else is already doing it. Why am I going to,
Yeah.
I'd rather do Aru to Aru and produce some awesome looking Arus. People have seen my Arus and was like, dude, when are you producing those? I was like, when they're ready. I'm counting down the days that they can go, but when they can go, that's what I want to do.
Now, what was
really focus on?
What was the pairing you did when the female slugged out?
That was a mixed pairing. That was a Jayapura female to a Manokwari male.
Okay.
And so that was my first stab, because they were adults. So that was my first stab at trying to breed chondros, and I was really just keeping them, and I just wanted to breed chondros. You know what I mean? Just to see if I could do it. And now it's like, you know what? Back up for a minute. And it's like I don't have anything. I have an adult male Biak, but everything else is in between that 1 and 3 year age mark.
Mm-hmm.
And so nobody's really ready to do anything.
Yeah, playing the waiting game.
So I'm a keeper. You know what I mean? Like I'm back to just keeping instead of trying to breed. I don't have to worry about that right now. Just get new caging like I want, find the animals that I want, and have a plan. And here's my plan. This is what I want to be doing 5-10 years from now. So I'm trying to go after the locality animals that I want now. So in 5-6 years, I've got all these animals that are going to be ready to
go,
and hopefully pair up some nice locality stuff. So I don't know what the Wamina is. I just know it's a Wamina, and hopefully when I find out how old that is or what sex that is, then I'm on the hunt for the opposite sex, and that'll be my plan.
I think it's nice though, not having not being in a rush to get it, to do anything, or get everything raised up and get everything going. It's kind of nice to be able to just kind of coast.
I'm not even gonna lie, man. When you sit back and you watch everybody produce animals,
yeah, definitely,
and it's never been a money aspect. If I never sold any of them, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I'll sit on them all. My whole aspect is I want to produce awesome chondros that I produce, just to that whole process of pairing them together, and the follicle build, the ovulation, the prelay shed, the eggs are here, the incubation, the babies are popping out. Now I'm feeding. That's the ultimate payoff.
Whole journey of the whole thing.
Exactly. It's not that, oh, here comes an egg, that's a $sign. There's no, I bet I could get this for that. I bet I could sell it for, if I sell them, I'm, awesome. All that'll do is pay for more caging and other snakes, and you're not going to really get rich doing this, and I don't ever plan to. It's just, I'd like to make enough money that can go back into them to give me other animals, and still put a little bit of money to the side.
Exactly.
I got to take my wife somewhere. She's helped pay for a lot of this and do a lot of this. So I got to, do something for her special. But, yeah, it's never been about the money. I can't wait to produce. Just to see those little heads pop out of that egg is like, oh, I can't wait.
Well, that's the appeal for me about the whole thing. Is you get them. I understand why people want to buy adults, but to me, it's so much more enjoyable to buy something, kind of like what David Brahms talked about the last episode. Getting them young and raising them up and seeing them change and putting all the time and putting in all the work and getting them to the adult size to breed, I feel like is so much more rewarding than just outright buying a pair and breeding it.
Yeah, definitely. I think most of my animals I've got when they were, I think the adult male I got as adult. Everything else I got when it was a couple months old. And I've watched it grow, and here they are. Some of them are 2, some of them are 3. I think I have a 4-year-old in here that's kind of small, but I've watched them, go through color changes. When they came in, they were, yellow babies, red babies, and I've got to sit back and watch that. And watch what they turn into. And I'm looking at Whiskey Throttle right now, which is a Biak I have, and it was a red Neo, and his color change is crazy because his head, his face, his neck is all yellow.
Yeah,
but his
and
body
then he just
green.
completely fades. Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah, he's so crazy looking, and it's just fun to watch him go through that change and remember what he was and what he turned into.
Well, it's funny in talking to David because I thought David had he had hatched chondros before, but in talking to him, like this clutch he just got recently was like his first clutch. And I don't know if you listened to that episode or not, but he's like, I got all my animals when they were all small and young, and he's like, I've been waiting 8 years, I think it was, to do this, like to be able to breed and say like I have eggs now. And I feel like it's so much more rewarding for the people who take the slow road and do that than the ones who are just like loading up on adults, and it's like I'm gonna pair every single one of them and I'm gonna have 1 billion babies. And I don't know. I think small batch is kind of the way to go when it comes to green trees, in my opinion.
And there's so many, like I've thought about, like, who doesn't think about the money aspect too? You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like, you always want to make a little bit of money, but it's not about the money. You know, I like to make some money, cool, but
it's like it's a nice bonus.
Exactly. But I mean, really, do you really make that much? It's like, okay, you sell some babies, that money turns around. Now you got to go buy feeders, new caging, new water bowls, new lights. You know.
Well, that's my thing. Is I just wanted to pay for itself.
Exactly.
Like that's it. Like if I can get more animals, more cages, feeders, all that stuff covered from the animals I'm producing on a regular basis, that's all I want. That's like perfect. That's like ideal for me. And then if I get any extra money in the pocket, that's awesome too. But as long as like I can buy more chondros without having to spend my own like quote unquote regular money to do it, then then we're made. Like it's good.
I can't wait. I want to see some heads pop out of eggs.
Yeah.
And that's like the ultimate payoff, man. Just to watch those first little pushes, and all of a sudden that little head pops out, and you're just like, oh, I did it. Then call everybody, because, you know, I love to take pictures, so I'm constantly with the camera in here at night and trying to take some really pictures. I've worked real hard on taking like quality pictures, and it's just like I want that egg tooth picture. Like that's my next thing I really want, was when they're pushing through and you get that egg tooth shot, and that's the kind of stuff. I can't wait, man. That's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna be breaking.
But I agree. I agree that slow road. I want to breed them, but I like the slow road too. I like taking my time and doing it right instead of running out buying, you know, all these adult animals just to breed, just to turn them around and try to sell a bunch of babies and make a bunch of money. To me, that's just, there's no fun in that.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll be breaking out the camera when mine hatch and get some decent shots. It's so funny.
What was your pairing?
Just a Biak to Biak.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. I'm hopeful that'll get some cool stuff out of it, but...
And we're talking about, you know, people just going out and buying adults. It's like, you tell me where you're finding adult females, because I've been looking for an adult female Biak forever, and I can't find one.
I bought my female from a buddy, and he was sure that it was a male, but I knew looking at it, I was like, there's no way on earth this thing is a freaking male, because she's gigantic. She's a big Biak. She's like... And it just so happened that I bought her after I bought my other male. Well, I didn't buy him, I traded, but... I got him, and then I got this other one, and I was like, that's a female, man. I got a pair. And so it just so happened, like, I didn't even expect it to be a female. I was expecting to have 2 males because I was just going to keep them, whatever. I had them for about a year, and then I paired them, and because I got plugs from the actual male, and then I didn't see any plugs for, like, 2 sheds from the female, so I was like, no, perfect. Like, the stars aligned just right, and I had a pair, so now I'm 17 eggs deep. And all of them look good, so.
That's great. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
It's super frustrating.
Like, I've got a 4-year-old. She, I think about 4, and it's my Biak female, but she's little. You know, she's very funny when it comes to eating. Like, she's very here or there. She got to be a real strong eater for about a year. Like, she would just eat right off the tongs, no problem. Well, had them sexed, and then ever since she got sexed, it's like now she won't eat anything thawed, has to be live, and then half the time she won't even eat that. You know, it's just, all right, Snake, like, I'll quit trying to feed you. I'll let you sit in there and starve till I notice that tail luring or you're in a hunting position. If that's how you want to do it, that's how we'll do it. But, like I said, no rush. I'm not going to sit here and try to power feed her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, you got to eat so you can breathe. Hey, take your time.
Yeah.
I mean, either you'll do something later down the road or you won't.
Well, I very specifically told myself when I figured out that it was a pair that I was going to wait at least a year, because I feel like I'm like a firm believer that people should, before they decide they want to start breeding a species, keep it for a few months to a year to make sure you actually enjoy it before you go start making more of them. And so I held on to mine. I didn't pair them for at least a year before I put the male in with the female. And people are just so quick to start breeding when they get something new. And it's like everyone just needs to kind of chill out.
Because it's almost the new norm. Like, I remember growing up. I'm older than I look. A lot of people think I'm, in my 20s, and I'm like, dude, I'm fixing to be 39. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I remember back in the day, it was just like people kept snakes. Like, nobody bred, really. There were a few people that bred snakes, but everybody just kept snakes. Everybody had collections where it was crazy collections. They just had all these different snakes. And you go to their house and look at their stuff, and there's just tons of different snakes. Now the whole focus seems to have shifted to where it's not about keeping anymore. Everything's about breeding. Everybody who gets snakes wants to breed, and I don't know. It's kind of fun right now, just keeping. I can't wait to breed. I'll be excited when I get there, but right now, I don't have that stress.
Yeah, you're just enjoying it.
You know what I'm saying? I just get to enjoy them.
I did learn pretty quick when I finally got eggs that reading about eggs and incubation is completely different from actually having to deal with it. Like, you could read about it all day long, but you won't, and I thought I was ready. I had my incubator going. I had everything set up, ready to go, just waiting for them to drop. And then they dropped, and I still had an ass of questions. And you can ask Justin Wilbanks and Brian Fisher, because I pestered them for, days after I got them, because I was like, are you sure this is right? Sent pictures to Harlan. Yeah. Are you sure they're not dehydrated? I can't tell if my thermostat's working or not, because I was getting, the indoor-outdoor thermometer that I have in the egg box was reading what the thermostat was saying, but when I temp gunned them, they were running almost 90, and so I'm like, what the hell? Just big pandemonium, but I finally got it figured out, and now I'm about 2 weeks in, and they said if you can get past the 2 to 3 week mark, you're pretty much in the clear as far as issues. So
is this your first time breeding snakes, or you're just chondros?
Just chondros. Me and my dad, when I was a kid, we bred corn snakes for a couple years. So, I mean, I'm familiar with the process. It's just with chondros, it's a little different because they're freaking chondros. I'm pretty sure you could put corn snake eggs in the refrigerator and they'd hatch.
Yeah, because I remember Joe, when him and Melissa, when I went over there to their apartment one time, they had just got eggs, and they were set up in these containers in the top of his closet.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, no, that's just fine. And I'm like, wow, must be nice. Because I know the chondros, everybody's like, man, the temps and the humidity and all this. He just puts them in a container and sticks them in the top of his closet. And I'm like, wow. But if only we could do that with chondros.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, though, chondros, not just their eggs, but chondros in general, we don't give them enough credit for... I don't think they're nearly as delicate as people are under the impression they are, because I feel like if they were that delicate, that whole species would have been extinct years ago.
True.
The eggs are meant to be able to handle a few degrees variance. The eggs are meant to handle a lack of moisture, too much moisture, to a degree. Obviously, if they're, completely underwater, they're not going to make it, but I don't know. Maybe, I call it carrying things to death, especially with green trees.
I've said the same thing, that I agree with you. Snakes are, they've been doing this forever, and they're smarter than people give them credit for. They know what they're doing, and I think some of us should actually. It's a scary thought, but we should try to MI more, because they know exactly what they're doing, and they can do it probably better than we can. But that's a scary process.
That's what I said until my female laid, and that completely went out the window.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm doing MI. I talked for weeks about doing MI. I was like, I'm going to do it. I ain't scared. I ain't no bitch. She can do it better than I can. This, that, and the other. And then eggs dropped, and I was like, Yeah,
Tiki bear.
I'm taking those. Sorry. Like, I completely bitched out. But I'm going to do it at some point. I don't know if I'm going to do it with that Biak female again whenever I breed her again, which probably won't be until 2020. But I have another female that I haven't paired. She's smaller, so I don't know. I'm kind of more nervous about it with her, but I definitely want to try it at some point.
Yeah, they're smart, man. It also plays into the live feeding. Like, a lot of people are so against live feeding. They're like, oh, if it... Man, look, I can tell you how many times I've thrown a live mouse in there, and I've watched these snakes get right up on this animal, and its butt will be in their face, and they won't strike it. They wait till that animal turns around and is face-to-face with them to lessen the danger of a bite. They're smart. You know, they're not... They've been doing this forever. They're not just going to grab it, and you know, sometimes once they wrap it, they can get bit, but... You know, it's rare for them to get bit in the face and stuff like watch them. I don't have problems feeding live. A lot of people don't. You know, I've got this snake and it's worth this much. I'm not feeding it live. I'm like, well, if your snake only wants live, I'm gonna give it live.
Yeah,
you know?
that's how my male is. He'll eat frozen like once every 6 months maybe, but for the most part, I got to give him live. And I don't really worry about bites with them because if you think about it, they can't bite the snake if they're busy trying to get air. Like, they're gasping for air.
And they can only bite that split second. Exactly. They bite that. It's like that instant wrap up. They can bite, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, I can't breathe,
yeah.
and then they can't bite no more. And it's like
when a dog bites you, if you freaking put it in a chokehold, it's gonna have to let go because it can't breathe.
Exactly, like the dude that killed the mountain lion.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that. That's fucking nuts, dude.
How cool is that, though? How cool is it to go to a bar and be like, yeah,
right?
I choked out a mountain lion. That's like the
Dude,
greatest pickup line in the history of pickup
line. That's awesome.
Choked out a mountain lion.
Bet your boyfriend couldn't do that if he tried.
You know what I'm saying?
I John Rambo'd a mountain lion. What is he going to do?
Chuck Norris ain't got nothing on me. But they are, man. They're highly intelligent animals.
I might as well be one of the Expendables.
You know what I'm saying? That whole argument about live feeding is another thing. You know, oh, you should never feed live, and it's wrong. And I'm like, well, nobody's giving them frozen thawed in the wild. And, well, these aren't in the wild. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. But at the same time, they're smart. They're not stupid.
I do it if I have to. It's not my first pick.
Yeah.
But
it's easier to feed them. It's just like incubation.
It's
easier
super
to do it that way
convenient.
than to let mom do it. So it's easier to feed them frozen thawed than to just, you know, they might take a bite, and then it's okay.
But there's some animals like my male that they want nothing to do with frozen thawed, and so live it is. I got to do what I got to do.
I tried to give her a frozen thawed a week and a half ago, and I mean she was just striking it straight, and she gutted it, like she hit it and it sliced it open, and I was like, wow, and she wouldn't take it. So then it's like, what do I do with this mouse? You know, this costs money. Do I just get rid of it? And I was like, oh, glad I got a king snake. You know what I mean? Like, here you go. And she ate it up, no problem.
I'm super weird about that because he'll do the same thing. Like, he'll nail it a bunch of times, and then I'm like, well, like, I don't want this mouse to have died for nothing, but at the same time, I don't want, if there is anything that he has, I don't want it to give it to anything else. And so I pretty much, just it's sort of a paranoia thing. I end up usually just throwing it out in the front yard and letting a raccoon or something eat it that night. And
I think certain snakes too. I think, when it comes into play, when you're talking about king snakes and you're talking about monitors, their stomachs are built like tanks. I think, Chondro, I won't take it and try to. If it doesn't eat it, I'm not going to give it to another one of the Chondros. I don't do that.
Yeah.
If I dangle it in front of it and I touch it or whatever, and he doesn't want it, okay, it's going to go to the king snake. If the king snake doesn't want it and happens to be in blue or something, I'm gonna trash it. That's all I can do with it. I won't feed it to one of the other green trees. I just don't do that.
Yeah, I'm super weird about
stomachs.
It.
Yeah, I think their stomachs are built maybe a little different from the things they eat. I mean, dude, they get bit by venomous snakes and they're just like, shake it off. Like, they don't care. And I'm like, you could probably handle this then. Here you go. And I've thought about getting a monitor just to have a garbage disposal. But I've got the king snake and she does her job.
They do the job.
She's happy to. Yeah.
They handle it.
She's something else.
So what's the pairing that you're going to be doing the soonest? Like, what's closest as far as when your stuff is up to age? What's going to be the first thing you pair?
If I could find an adult female Biak, I would do, because I have that adult male. I would do the Beox. If not, then I'm probably looking at the Arus. Probably 2021 would be my guess, because they'll both be 5. I think, yeah, they'll both be. Well, the male, he's an import. He looks pretty wild caught. The female, I bought her, and I'm assuming she's import just because I have no information. But she's so blue and so pretty and just so clean that it looks captive bred to me. But I would never say that and be like, oh, it's probably captive bred, so I'm gonna call it. No, I don't have any information. It's an import. But I plan on pairing them. I don't know how old that male is, but I know he could probably go next year. But I'm gonna wait. He's been doing nothing but eating and looking nice and waiting on her.
Nice.
I'm not seeing any cruising out of him or anything like that. I am seeing cruising from both my male Beox, and the whiskey throttle. He's coming up on 3, and I mean he's cruising like crazy every night. Him and that adult male, both of them cruising every single night.
They're funny, man. Okay. I put my male in with my female, and he was on her within like 5 minutes. He literally,
I think that
he didn't even bother to look around the cage. He literally just went straight for her.
Female. He was
all over it. Yeah, he was ready.
Yeah, I think that adult male I have would screw a shoestring if I put it in there. so I'll be, if I could ever find an adult female, that'd probably be the first pairing I'd try. But till then, I think the Arus are probably going to be what's next lined up.
Gotcha.
But you never know, man. Like I said, I want it to happen, but I'm not in a rush to make it happen. I just sit back and let them, do what they do. And when they're of size, I think they can go a little smaller than what people think too.
Yeah.
And because in the wild, they're producing in the wild at crazy small sizes,
like 600 grams or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're small. They're like 500-600 grams, 400 grams, and they're producing. I was just like, okay, But then you kind of, I wonder if these could go. Well, I'm not. These aren't in the wild, so I'm not going to treat them like they are. I'm going to just keep feeding them till they hit that 5-year mark, and I think that's a good age. They could probably go a little sooner than that, but like I said, I'm not in any rush.
Yeah, the extra time definitely won't hurt.
Just keep feeding them and watch them and take a bunch of pictures.
And that's one of the things. I listened to Vin Rousseau. He was on one of the Herp Nation shows a couple years ago, and he was talking about boas. And he said, some people can get their boas to be ready to go by the age of like 3 or something like that, maybe 4. He's like, I wait for my females to get to 6 or so years old before I pair them. And he says, and these females are producing bigger litters, healthier litters, and then they're breeding into older ages than these younger females are. And so that kind of had me really think about like really taking my time on growing stuff out and waiting an extra year or 2 to breed stuff.
Because I know a lot of people, when you're looking at like your berms and your retics, those guys are like feeding their snakes to where they're hitting almost 7, 8, 9, 10 feet in a year. And I'm just like, why? And I'm good friends with Ryan Sullivan of Ivory Connection. And he's a firm believer in those males being, maxed out at like 7, 8 feet. Like they don't have to be that big in a year.
Yeah.
He's like, at all. Take your time with it, and you'll get healthier animals. Like you said, a healthier clutch, healthier animals. Don't power feed to breed, and just let them do what they do.
Well, some species like Brettles,
for a while.
Like Brettles, you have to, the males, I think Casey Cannon was saying, you're lucky if you can get a male to breed before the age of like 4. Maybe 5. He says male Brettles, they have like zero interest in females until they hit that age, and it's just I guess it kind of forces you to be patient with it.
Brettles are awesome.
Oh, I love them.
Austin, Austin Work produces some very nice Brettles. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, I kind of think about it, and it's like, man.
We're supposed to be getting we're supposed to be getting a stonewash and a hat from Casey here soon. Pretty stoked about that. If anybody needs a normal pair of Brettles, a 2018 male and a 2016 female, hit me up because we have a pair for sale.
There you go.
It'll take you a little while to get some babies out of them, but that gives you time to plan for the female's cage when she gets big.
Yeah, man. I don't think people enjoy keeping it. They got to get back there because it's so much fun. And I see some of these guys when it's one thing I think if you're pairing up a pair, maybe two. It's another when I see these guys pairing up. Breeding season is here. What are you doing? And
let me pair everything I got.
10 pairs.
Yeah.
And that to me, I mean, it's not crazy, but it's just like that seems like it would be a lot of stress, not just on the snakes, but on you. Like
I can speak from experience.
Pairing stuff.
Because I did that with my cresteds. Like my last season breeding crested geckos, I originally told myself I'm only going to breed like maybe 3 females. I ended up pairing like everything because I got these ideas where I was like, dude, if I pair this to this, that'll produce some really cool stuff. Like I'm super anxious to see what comes out of that. And then I ended up being like 60 babies deep, and I was like, this was the worst decision I've ever made. It was taking up so much of my week.
We did that with leopard geckos.
Yeah, it was taking up so much time.
With leopard geckos, man. It was just like we had a male in with 2 females in this big cage, and then I found eggs and was like, okay, and I built an incubator and incubated them, and then we had gotten some older females, and we just had all these geckos, and we went from like 5 or 6 leopard geckos to like 40 or 50 leopard geckos in like less than 2 years. It was just like, geez, and they breed like rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, man, like they don't stop, and then you got to split them up. I was getting tired of doing it.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I just got out of the geckos because I got rid of all my tarantulas. Anything that was eating crickets. I was tired of feeding stuff like on a daily and every other daily basis. I love snakes, man. It's like
they spoil you, man.
Some of them, and
they spoil you in so many ways. Like I've pretty much sworn off keeping anything with legs now, unless it's a dart frog. I think that's a pretty good rule to live by.
I've got 4 tarantulas, I think. There's one somewhere in my snake room.
I do miss keeping. I miss keeping scorpions and tarantulas, though. I keep getting tempted to get back into those a little bit, but I need to not because they're addicting.
They're just cool to just have, man.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm back on crickets, and it's always I'm chasing crickets all the time. And they either get out or they're just in there everywhere, and then you're feeding every other day to every day. I miss just feeding once a week, once every couple of weeks or so.
Mm-hmm. How often do you feed your group right now?
The baby, the smallest one I have is the one from Bill that I have right now, the Cygnus sibling.
Uh-huh.
I'm feeding that one once a week. Everybody else I'm feeding once every 2 weeks. And then that adult male I feed about once a month.
Okay. Do you and
he's always like, well, everybody else is eating. Why am I not? And I'm like, sorry, bud.
I only feed my adults, even my girls, like once a month. The female that just laid, I was giving her an adult mouse a week, the last like 2 or 3 weeks, just to kind of beef her back up. But everyone else, they're like once a month, and then the babies get weekly. The juvies and the neos get once a week.
Yeah, and I think when they're super small, they're almost hatchling size. I've got them when they're very young, and I've done like once every 4 to 5 days. But once they hit that about a foot mark, that's when I kind of back off and
throttle them back.
Once every 7 days or so, 6 to 7 days.
And do you feed yours when they go into a cycle?
Some of them will eat regardless; they don't care, and I kind of know which ones will, which ones won't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I really pay attention. With chondros, it's always kind of hard to tell a little bit. You kind of see that milky eye, and it's like, okay, you're going blue. So I have a tendency to not feed because I hate thawing out feeders and try to go feed. And, you're in shedding now. You don't want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, great. So once again, king snake comes into play.
I don't have I don't feed when any of my stuff goes in. Like if I'm thawing everything out, because I kind of check everybody before I go and decide what I'm pulling out of the freezer just to be safe. Because a lot of my stuff sheds like around the same time. Because everyone's on the same feeding schedule basically. If I notice they're blue, I won't feed them, because I've noticed, especially with the green trees, like especially with the juvies and the neos, if I feed them when they're blue, it takes them like twice as long to go through the cycle of shedding. Like, it almost extends it. It's really strange. Like, instead of it taking them a week to shed, it'll take them like 2 weeks to pop one out. So now if the chondros are in blue especially, I skip them up. They don't eat that week, and I just feed them the following or after they shed.
You mentioned a schedule. Do you have your animals on a set schedule, like you feed them like every Friday or every whatever?
Currently it's just on my days off. Like Mondays have been the day lately. Because
I notice I'm very, very sporadic with my feeding. Like I'll feed at night, I'll feed during the day. I feed, weird times. Sometimes I'll just get up. I'll be up at 2, 3 in the morning, on a Saturday night because I'm off on Sunday. So it's like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm up. Oh, let me feed them.
Mm-hmm.
I just do that, and I feel like they don't ever really know when it's coming.
Yeah.
But they do know when I walk in there with that bucket and they start to smell it. You start seeing the heads turn around. It's funny.
I'll leave that bucket in there most of the day, and I come back in and they're all just at the glass, like waiting.
Yeah, that's always fun.
But
then the tails are going.
Yeah,
you see all the little tails like, feed me.
It's not a set schedule, though. Like I said, it's based off my days off. Whatever day off I have that week is pretty much what it's going to be, or I'll feed them, that same day, a week later, just at night. Like, I do kind of keep it sporadic. Some of the Brettles, I just won't even feed them. Some of the colubrids, I just won't even feed them either. I'll just give them, an extra week or 2 off. It depends on the animal, though. The chondros, I like to stay fairly consistent, especially the small ones, just to kind of keep them steady moving.
How often, I was going to ask you, how often do you do water changes?
Weekly.
Weekly?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know with chondros, I have a tendency that I change out their water probably every 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
And I actually saw somebody post something, and it had like a water bowl, or I guess a water through a microscope, and it was showing all the bacteria and stuff that was in the water. And it says something like, if you wouldn't drink this, why would they? And I was like, man, and the water was only like a week old, and I was like, wow, I'm glad I changed my water.
Yeah, but I mean, that stuff's gonna be there no matter what. Like, it's probably in the bowl when you pour it. I try not to we really, chondro people especially, I feel like have a tendency to really overthink small shit that isn't that serious. Do you do the penny trick? Do you use the copper in the penny?
No. I've thought about doing that, and then I was just like, I don't have any copper.
Yeah,
so I was like, no.
I've done it. I don't know that it
I
don't know if the snakes really care that it makes it sort of fresher longer. I do notice in bigger water bowls, it's not as effective. Like, you have to have more than 1 penny in a bigger bowl, but in smaller bowls, it does a pretty good job of keeping the grossness out of there. But yeah, I disinfect and refill like once a week. If they're going into a shed cycle, or if they decided to like take a dump in the water, then I change it out obviously and disinfect it again. But I don't know. I'm not super anal about the water changes, every twice a week or whatever. And I haven't had any issues so far with it either. But yeah, I don't know. What do you just do tap water? What do you like to?
Generally I do I'll do tap water. I'll do distilled water.
Uh-huh.
But like you said, I really don't run into too many issues.
I got one of those Brita pilchers, and I just refill that, and that's what I use. And I just keep that in the snake room. Saves me from having to buy gallon water constantly, like every week. I'm spending like $8 on water. Adds up. But one of the main...
A lot of times I just...
No, go ahead.
What are you saying? I was going to say, a lot of times I just use like the... go to Walmart and I get those jugs with distilled water and stuff and use that. Wow, my kid's been in my snake room. Look, lock the doors, people. Because I'm in here talking to you, and I was looking at my transfers, and I look over. I've already got one missing. Like, it's a Rio Grande Gold. It's a little small, nothing that'll hurt anybody. But the top was off the other day. So I'm sitting here talking to you, and I've got 3 Armenias, and as I look at the cage, the top of the cage is open. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm looking in here, and I don't see my Armenia.
Yeah, that's not one of the species I would want getting out.
So
a Phonopelma's one thing. Salmopius is another.
Yeah, and it's a small one. It's a little one, but still, it's just the fact that
those little things are hell on wheels, man.
Yeah.
I've had at least 2 of them, I think, in the past, but I had one in particular. It was a small female, and dude, she was an ass.
Yeah, I've got an adult female, and she's all right for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, I don't handle them or anything, but they're crazy. They can be kind of crazy.
So, one of the things that I wanted to, I guess, talk about briefly, since we're closing in on an hour and a half now, I've mentioned before, I think it was the Luke Myers episode, like, the history of, like, chondro keepers and stuff kind of comes in, I guess, generations or sort of waves is the way I see it. And so you have, like, the original guys, like, Trooper Walsh, Vlad, like some of the original guys who started first keeping chondros here in the States and sort of just kind of got them out there as a species in the hobby. And then you have guys coming in like Rico who kind of expand upon that and really make some of the, the outstanding animals. And then you have like sort of the next generation after that, like Bill and like Buddy Buscemi and who else? Like John Irby.
Gary.
Yep, Gary.
John Irby.
And then you have like the next generation after that, which I like to think is like you, myself to a degree. Like some of these guys that are they've been keeping a couple years, but now they're kind of getting into the breeding thing. Like where do you see chondros in the hobby sort of going? Do you think they're going to kind of stay where they're at, or do you think they're going to start gaining more traction as people are breeding them more and more?
I honestly hope they kind of stay where they're at. I mean, I hope more people do the research and learn about them, but I do hope that they kind of stay where they're at. I know I made a post one day asking about morphs and what people thought. Would they like to see morphs in green trees? And I wouldn't, because I don't exactly want to see them go crazy.
I don't think they need any.
And I don't think that would ever happen. One, because they're a little bit more difficult, you know what I mean, versus, ball pythons or whatever. So I don't think they'd ever just do like that. But still, I don't want to. I wouldn't want to see them go down that road.
I don't know. The way I see it is like
I don't think they will.
I think they're gonna kind of stay sort of where they're at. Like they're always gonna have a following, but they're never gonna have like a super mainstream following. Like there's gonna be the people that buy the imports, the Biox, and then they have a terrible experience with that, and they lose it or something, and then they never buy a chondro again. Like so many of us who bought them. Same scenario. I'm in the same boat as you. I got a Biox from an importer, and it ended horribly. And I didn't get another chondro for like 10 years after that. And so I think there's going to be a lot of people that they get them, and they, it doesn't work out, and they don't get back to them. And then there's going to be people that do that. They do come back to them, and then they really enjoy them, and then they're going to be part of that next, batch of people who really pursue them and try to better that species and, continue to keep them and help spread the word on the, the right way to keep them and dispel any myths that we have with them.
Yeah, I mean, I wish more people would just research them. If you're going to keep them, and everybody, they would have better, what am I trying to say? A better experience with them. You know what I mean? You see so many people that, it's my dream snake, and they don't really do too much research, and then the snake just dies on them, and then they're just, they don't want to mess with them no more. And I'm like, that sucks, because they're so enjoyable to keep. All you got to do is research. We all preach research like crazy, like read. And when you think you've read enough, read some more. And you can't ever read enough. Like there's always questions to ask, or people to talk to and ask questions to.
Yeah, and that's
just keep asking.
With the groups, I'm only in MVF now. I'm not in any of the chondro groups. I'm only in Morelia Veritas Forum. And when people post questions, like you're gonna rarely see my name in the group at all, even in comments. Like I'm always lurking. I'm never actually active, but I'm always reading. But But I tell people all the time, I have people message me on Instagram and stuff asking me they have questions about their chondro, and I have a complete open door policy with that. Like, if you have questions, feel free to hit me up and ask me. I'm not going to be the one to show up in the groups and sort of, give you my opinion on something or, answer on what people are asking. But I think we should all sort of have that same policy, and a lot of people do. But we should all sort of have that open door policy on, if someone's coming to you with a question about chondro, like their first chondro, they're new to it, they want to know where to start, who to go to. I'm all for keeping people in the loop with that and answering any questions that anybody has. And I'm sure you're the same way. Like, I'm sure you have a lot of people who come to you too and ask you questions about them.
Yeah, some people, there's a lot of people, when they have legit questions and you can tell that they've taken the time to learn about these animals. I can't stand when people go buy a snake and then turn around and ask you questions about how to take care of it. I just, that irritates me.
Yeah, that drives me nuts too.
Just learn before you buy the animal. But so that's how a lot of these guys are. They're just, I want this cool animal and I'm gonna go get it, and then ask questions later. In the meantime, my snake is suffering, and I don't, I'm not a fan of that. And I'm pretty vocal, about that. It's just like, dude, why didn't you ask before you buy it? Because this may not be the animal for you, and now that snake's going to pay for that. It's easier if you just ask these questions first, and we can help you out, and you decide, okay, is this animal right for me? Because it's a little harder to take care of than I thought it was going to be. But there's some people in there that, no matter how hard you try, they ask questions, you give advice, and they're still not happy, or, they don't listen, and it is what it is. But I try to be helpful. Sometimes I can be an ass, but I try.
Well, I guess there should be a disclaimer with me saying that. Like, if someone messages me on Instagram or even Facebook, and they're like, I just got a chondro, how do I keep it? I'm going to send you a link to Google, and I'm going to say start here. But, like, if someone, like, I've had people come to me with, like, legitimate questions, like, hey, I have this, like, my chondro has this weird sore on its head, what should I do? And then they send me a picture, and I'm like, take that to a vet, like, right now, because that's not normal, which has happened.
Yep.
Like, that I'll do, but the people that say, yeah, I just got my first chondro, like, how do I keep it? I'm going to be like, dude, like, I'm not going to...
Like, why did you buy this animal if you don't know how to take care of it? These aren't, for certain sense, to me, they're pretty bulletproof for the most part. But, it takes a while to get there.
Yep. I agree.
So,
and it's not, we have the internet now. It's 2019. We have the internet. You can literally find anything you ever wanted to know about anything in like 10 seconds. And people still go, like, that's my biggest pet peeve is, like, you have the freaking internet. You have the hive mind of the human species, and you don't even use that. Instead, you go on MVF, and you're like, I just got this. I don't even know what locality is. They told me it was an Aru, and it's clearly a Biak. And they're like, and I don't know how to take care of it. What should I do? And it's like, really?
Yeah, somebody posted a picture earlier of their new Aru they got. It was red Neo. It was just like, there's that party that was to last, but then it's like, they didn't know. But, if you'd done a little research, you would know that Arus don't produce anything red. I'm just saying.
All right. Yeah. People are crazy, dude. But it's always going to exist. It's always going to happen. There's always going to be those people. So instead of getting angry or upset about it, I just chuckle and I keep scrolling. Because I know 20 people are going to answer, and they're going to say all the same things that I'm going to say. So someone's got it covered somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
dude, I'm going to have to... This kid, man. If she's not in here drawing on top of tanks, she's opening cages.
And start putting locks on everything.
Dude, I'm telling you. Like, I'm just sitting here talking to you. I look over, and that top, this whole time I've been talking to you, I've been moving stuff around, kind of looking, because this ain't anything I exactly want running around. But, lock your doors, people. If you have kids, lock your doors.
All right, man. Well, we're an hour and a half. Where can people find you?
Check me out on Instagram, Carpet Cartel. Facebook as well, Carpet Cartel, Andrea Evan Browder. Yes, we have a joint Facebook. Kiss my ass. Nobody cheated, nothing like that. It's just a lot of same friends, a lot of same stuff. We just roll like that.
What's the point of having two different ones if you got everybody in the same one?
Shut the hell up. I hear that all the time. Oh, who cheated? Look, some girl sent me a random friend request.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a random friend request from somebody the other day, and I was like, okay, and they seemed like snake people. They had a lot of mutual friends, so I accepted it. Don't know who this is, and they post to my timeline this meme about people with joint Facebook accounts and somebody cheated and their balls are in a jar, and I just went back and unfriend. Like, I don't even fucking know you, first of all, to be talking shit. Second of all, kiss my ass. Like, just Facebook. I don't care. But, yeah, Andrea Evan Browder, Carpet Cartel, Instagram. I love Instagram.
Me
all
too.
Pictures. Instagram's great. A lot less drama.
Yep.
Just look at my pictures, like it.
You get to see nothing but cool green snakes if that's all you want to see.
Yep.
Is there a word on?
Check me out. Give me a follow.
Is there a word on Southern Carpet Fest yet?
No. Since I've been working, man. I mean, they got me in there 60 hours a week. I just been so busy, and I haven't had time to breathe really, and to get with Austin.
I was going to say, so it's pretty much this year. It's not your headache.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen this year, if we're going to have one. I'd love to. This be the first year we don't.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a lot of work to put into it, especially since Ian took over and up to get the whole game with the auctions and stuff. It's like, man, how do I compete with that? And it's a headache, man.
Bill's retired now. Tell Bill to do it. Bill's got time.
Yeah.
He ain't working anymore.
Here, Bill, take this over.
Exactly.
And I've thought about that. I was like, y'all want to just take this over? But
what else is he doing besides sitting poolside drinking margaritas and playing with his cool Chondros, dude? He could do it. Stiegel.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be...
Make it happen.
He's going to be moving as well, so I think it's another issue with him. He's going to be moving, so...
No.
Him trying to probably take it over. But, he's got some time now. He just retired.
Exactly.
So... might hit him up and say, here, you take this over this year.
Yeah, this can be your headache. I don't know how Ian did it, man. Ian and the other people involved in that, like, holy shit, did they do a good job.
And it was huge. Like, their auction is insane. And it's just like, how do we compete with that?
Yeah, it was insane. I won a bunch of stuff, not knowing I had won it. So I learned my lesson about the Carpet Fest auction very quickly. Pay attention to what you bid on, people, because you'll win it and then realize you won it. And then realize you have to pay for everything.
And I just found it.
What, the...
awesome.
The
yeah,
good.
It's on the back of the shelf I have them on. I wish we could video this, because this is going to be funny.
All right, man. We'll handle that. Thank you for coming on. Everyone...
no problem, man. Love talking snakes.
Everyone, please subscribe via SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, all that good stuff. Follow me on Facebook at ChondroCast. Follow me on Instagram at the ChondroCast. Follow my personal stuff at Palmetto Coast Exotics across all platforms. And we will see you later. Evan, thank you again.
No problem, man. Thanks.
Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy.